G'day and welcome. All right, the video that follows this is kind of a visual representation of, our internal battle of using willpower to overcome our desire to drink, and how, if you saw it on a scale, a balance scale, what it would look like with your willpower trying to overcome your desire to drink. And then, if you do drink, how you consider that a fail, and then you go and judge that as being bad, and then you go into a decline and you have shame around the fact that you're so weak that your willpower failed you. So have a look, see what you think, and I'll join you at the end of it and have a little chat about what we've gone through. All right, so I've set up a set of scales to represent the idea of the traditional recovery of everything is about the behaviour. As long as you are not drinking, it's considered a success, and if you are drinking, it's considered a failure. So it's kind of like black and white. Either you drink or you don't drink. If you don't drink, fantastic. That's considered a success, regardless of what's happening in your mind and how you feel about that. And it relies on willpower. All right, so let's say that you decided to quit drinking, and you're going to go the traditional route of using willpower to control your drinking. So you've come up with maybe some reasons why you want to stop. Right? If you don't have reasons to stop, then it's really hard to do it. But maybe you've decided that you want more energy. So chuck that in there. Typically you want better sleep. Clear mind. You're sick of the brain fog. And overall, you want to experience better health outcomes because you're tired of waking up hungover and sick on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning and being quite under the weather. All right, so that's all well and good. So nothing sort of manifests until maybe you go somewhere, maybe you come in contact with somebody who's drinking and you're triggered. So you have this desire to drink. All right, so I'll pop that in there. Desire to drink comes up, and you counter that with willpower. Okay, maybe that's enough to counter the craving. Maybe you need a bit more willpower. Right, and you find that, let's have a bit of trouble here. We swing over to the pass side of it. So as long as you don't give in to that craving and you use your willpower, it's considered a pass. All right, so the problem with willpower, so this might work a couple of times. Maybe you just get tired. Maybe the triggers just keep coming. They keep chipping away at your willpower, and your willpower fatigues. This could be, over a day, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year. But at some stage, the cravings or the desire to drink overcome your willpower, and you take the drink. And of course, as soon as you take the drink, you consider that to be a fail. Right, and that kicks in a whole heap of judgment and shame. Right, you were going all out to try and to control your drinking. You were using your willpower to knock back the cravings and knock back that desire to drink, but you've ended up with judgment and shame because you consider yourself to have failed. Right, so you stack that on there. You try and muster up a bit more willpower. But, you're feeling so bad about it, the next time a craving happens, it's not enough to get you over the line. Right? The shame part of it, you're asking the question, why me? What's wrong with me? Is there something about me? The worst question you could probably ask yourself, am I an alcoholic? All of these things you judge as bad and you're ashamed of because you can't control your drinking. You don't have enough willpower you're weak. All right. So that's a quick demo of using willpower. There's a whole heap of other stuff that goes on with the desire to drink. We haven't got behind that because all we're concerned about in this example is just, we don't want to drink. We don't care how we feel about that, but it's all about the behaviour. Drink, don't drink, very black and white, very pass fail, very judgmental, and very easy to become totally discouraged and left in a loop of trying to use willpower to overcome those desires to drink. And of course, shame. How do you feel about shame? You feel terrible. And of course, if you feel terrible, that's one of the drivers that makes you want to drink. So you're in this never-ending loop. Of course, you've got other things going on. You've got a harsh critical voice in your mind telling you how weak you are. And then maybe you've even got another one that's telling you, like, it's okay, it's all right. We can try again tomorrow, another day one, it doesn't matter. And you've got these two opposing voices in your mind. Right? You know that you don't want to drink, but you've got this other voice that's saying, yeah, it's okay, have a drink. We call that cognitive dissonance. And where that kind voice is coming from is from your subconscious beliefs. The harsh voice is coming from your thinking brain, your cognitive brain, because it knows that you don't want to drink, and it's trying to basically beat you into submission and make you not drink. But of course, that requires willpower, and your willpower fatigues and wears out over time. All right, so what did you think? Using willpower, it can work. There's no denying that, can work for people, but it really is how you feel about that. Like, how do you feel battling every day, mustering up willpower to overcome desires to drink as they arise? Now, they're not maybe going to come up every day, but when they do come up, we have to try and counter those with willpower. And just like a muscle, countering that desire to drink is fatiguing. And eventually our willpower wears out. And if we don't understand what's going on, or if we don't have tactics or tools that we can use, then often, the drinking will win. And then that will set into that shame spiral that I talked about, how you judge it as being bad, and you start questioning about yourself, like how weak you are and how you don't have any willpower. Other people seem to be able to do it, but you can't. What's wrong with you? And you start to feel shame about that. And shame is an uncomfortable emotion, and uncomfortable emotions are one of the things we use alcohol to push away. So you end up in a loop, in a spiral. All right. So there is another way that we can approach this, and my next video after this one goes into a different method where instead of focusing on the behavior only, we dig into what's behind the desire to drink. And once we understand all the reasons why we desire drink, and it's a combination of things, it's about our beliefs, our subconscious beliefs, it's about the substance itself, the effect of alcohol on the brain, what it does to our chemistry in the brain, and how it makes us come back for more, how it has an addictive effect, how it's poisonous. All of these things, once we dig into what they are and understand the reasons why these things happen, then we begin to lose our desire to drink. Once we lose our desire to drink, we need less and less willpower. Okay, so we might need a little bit of willpower to get going, but once we're sort of on the path of not drinking, and we understand as triggers come up, we understand how to deal with them and why they're happening, then we find it's a lot easier over time for our desire to drinking to fade away, which is a great place to be in. Okay, and that's how it is for me now. I have no desire at all to drink. And yet, for the 9 years that I used willpower, I kept thinking about, I could just have one drink, it'd be nice to have a drink. I had the fear of missing out because I still believed that alcohol had a place in my life. I just couldn't drink it anymore. To where I am now, where I believe that alcohol has no place at all in my life. And the only reason I talk about alcohol at all is because I'm a coach trying to help people overcome their desire for alcohol and find a better way to live without needing willpower to control their drinking. Okay, thanks for watching.